Now on to Desmond Lynham welcomes Sandie Shaw to It's My Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks. It's extraordinary the things people are remembered for. I mentioned my guest name to the taxi driver on the way here. Bare feet, he said. Sang in bare feet. Well, indeed she did. But more importantly, she typified the style and attitude of the swinging 60s. Becoming a pop singer almost by accident, she had hit after hit.
And every step I take recalls how much in love we used to be. Oh, how can I forget you when there is always something that to remind me? Always something that to remind me. Oh, I was born to love you, and I will never be free. You'll always be a part of me.
It's my pleasure to welcome Sandie Shaw. Well, I guess that appearance was a good few years back. You don't change much, do you?
Oh, I do. I change a lot. I get much nicer.
Oh, you get nicer?
That was a Top of the Pops clip. It was actually, that was a 70s clip of me singing a song that I did in the 60s. And I have lots of fond memories about Top of the Pops. We used to do it in Manchester.
Right.
We used to fly on the plane up to Manchester, and they were really tiny little planes. We used to sort of like fear for our lives that we'd actually got there. And I remember nearly always they'd put Georgie Fame opposite me, who was sort of like kept trying to play kneesies with you when it was bumping, and you'd have sort of like one of the kinks on your right, sort of holding your hand and stopping you. Well, they were trying to stop you from being frightened, but it was usually the other way around. And it was a really tight little family unit, really.
Right. I didn't realise they did the programme up there in those days.
Oh, it was fabulous in this converted old church hall. And there was always a party afterwards. It was great, it was good.
Right. We're going to look at some interesting television that you've selected for us. And you're taking us back into the 60s, first of all, aren't you, with That Was the Week That Was.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at that, and we'll talk about it in a second.
I'd done no television interviews at all before that date, and I thought it was something you can take or leave alone. For some maybe, but for me there's no such thing as social interviewing. That interview led to another and another and another. I thought I could control it at first. I was on Panorama Tonight, this week, medical programs, social science programs. It was a heady feeling. The lights on the back of my neck, the soothing voice of the interviewer telling everybody that he cannot divulge my name. I couldn't stop myself. Soon I didn't care whether my interviewer was John Freeman, Edgar Luscotton, or who it was. I was scraping the bottom of the barrel. I was going down to Norfolk 2 or 3 times a week to appear on a programme called Fenn's Viewpoint.
That was a sort of parody of Face to Face, wasn't it, at the time? Was that a programme that you particularly enjoyed?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I wasn't... recently, you know, when you had the birthday, and they played lots of that, well, a portion of That Was the Week That Was,
yes.
I was really quite shocked at the political content of it. It was really quite incisive and really explicit. And it kind of shocked me because we don't have that kind of television now.
It was very really hard-hitting in an earlier time.
It really was, right between the eyes. And I thought, wow, it would be quite nice if one could actually do that nowadays and take ourselves a lot less seriously.
You started in the business almost by accident, didn't you, as I said at the beginning? I mean, you had no sort of ambitions as a very young girl to get into show business, did you? Or did
well,
you?
I would have done anything to get out of Dagenham, really. I think...
Dagenham's not that bad.
Well, it's not, but it was bad for me because it wasn't the right place for me to be. I even once thought of joining the army. I mean,
Really?
no, I had this
Must have been
idea
bad.
that, no, I thought that you could travel if you were in the army.
Oh, I
Maybe I
see.
should have joined the Navy.
You'd have got to all the shows.
Anything. I wanted to maybe go to art school. I thought you sort of like lived in this wonderful other type world with all these very intellectual people that then I got frightened at the last minute.
Yeah.
I didn't really see myself as a beatnik at the end of the day.
So what did you do then when you were sort of a young teenager? You went to London, did you, and went to the clubs and mixed in the pop scene? Was that
Tottenham. I went to Tottenham Roll once, and usually other than that it was the Ilford Pally, and it was very much like youth clubs and local dances. I never actually went to London until I went up to be a star, as it were, till I went for an audition for a show with Adam Faith.
Right.
That was the first time I ever went to London.
Well, Adam Faith was instrumental in getting you into the business, wasn't he? How did that happen?
Well, I'd won a talent contest at the Ilford Pally. Well,
The Ilford Pally?
Actually, no, I didn't even actually win it. I came second. And somebody there said they had... this boy came up to me afterwards. I was hoping, that's why I went in for it, so somebody would come up to me afterwards. And he said, I've got an uncle who's in the business. And I said, yeah, I've heard this before. But I gave him the next door neighbour's phone number, because we didn't have a phone. And lo and behold, he rang me and said, would you come up to see my uncle, and he wants to put you in this show. And it must have been word of mouth, because I was just so stricken with horror when I saw this piano. I'd never sung with piano, I'd only ever sung with guitars before.
Yeah.
Then I couldn't sing a word. But he put me on this show. It was the first...
The uncle was Adam Faith, was he?
No,
or-
the uncle
no.
was a music publisher.
Ah.
And another guy called Jimmy Henney, who used to work for a DJ for Radio Luxembourg at the
Yes,
time.
I remember his name very
And
well.
and so they put me on this show, and the Hollies were on it, which is the connection with Manchester. And Adam Faith was starring. And I was supposed to sing 2 numbers with a band called Tony Rivers and the Castaways, and Sandie Shaw and the Castaways.
They'll enjoy looking
And,
into this, the boys in that band, I expect.
Yeah, and when I came off, I could only do 1 number because I was just so frightened by all this noise from this audience. I'd never, you know, because usually when I sang, people were dancing, you know, when I sang at the dance clubs. And so there's this huge noise, and it really frightened me, so I ran off and I won't go back on again. But as I ran off, there were all the guys backstage. There were all the Roulettes, Adam Faith musicians, and there were the Hollies there, and they were all kissing me. One of them was saying, you were marvellous. Oh, this is the life. Yeah. You know, I'm not going back to Dagenham after this. And then they took me back to Adam Faith's dressing room to meet him and his manager, and show them that I could sing, which I was dumbstruck and I couldn't sing, and they just took it on face value because of what everybody else was saying that I could.
Right. And hence, I guess you've picked a little clip for us of Adam Faith on the real face-to-face.
Do you enjoy being a star?
Mainly, I love it.
What do you like best about it?
Well, the greatest luxury for me is having a car. That's been fantastic for me.
A fast car?
Yeah. It's an American car, actually.
Do you like driving fast?
When it's safe to do so, yeah.
Do you really think you're going to spend your life singing, or are you going to develop into an actor or do something quite different?
Well, I hope to sing for the rest of my life, but I want to spend much more time trying to develop as an actor.
Well, that was with John Freeman, of course, a famous programme of the time. But
Yes, it's funny because that was the first pop star they'd ever done, and they sort of like held him up as being an articulate pop star. You know, you do have intelligent ones.
Yes.
Everybody in those days was supposed to be really thicko.
Yeah, but he came over as very quiet then, didn't he, Adam? And now he's a great entrepreneurial type character who's still very well known.
Yeah, he's always been a sort of like, he's still quiet now. He gets his own way in a very quiet way.
Would all the people at the time back in Dagenham have thought that you were getting very rich, I suspect, when you had your first hit record and all the rest of it? Were you getting very rich?
Well, wasn't poor?
No.
Yes, there was lots of money around. I was very foolish with it.
Were you?
Yeah, fortunately.
Fortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a
Be
good
serious
time.
about money at that age.
Exactly.
Silly.
You had a good time.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next clip you've picked, which is Cagney and Lacey. Now, why have you asked to see this?
Oh, I love Cagney and Lacey. I think they're wonderful. And when it's not on, I sit there and I sort of moan, oh, I wish Cagney and Lacey were big.
Pine for it.
Yes, I really do pine. I think they're just great women characters. I think they are so strong, and it's really good to have 2 good female role players. and like, and it's very honest and very to the point.
Yes.
And it's great that they're not these big glammy characters. You know, they either have the strong women around tend to be all like dolled up to the nines and, you know, have these fantastic jobs and like, you know, or married to these fantastic guys and dripping with money.
You think
know.
these are more real?
But these are much more real. I think people can really relate to the problems that they're talking about.
Right.
It's a bad color.
Hate spending money on clothes this late in a pregnancy.
Don't you have anything at home in your closet that you can wear to this?
Don't start, Christine. You're the one who's got me talking to who knows how many policewomen about the privilege of going on maternity leave. I'm not going to do it dressed in a turquoise pup tent. I may be glowing, but I don't want to push it.
All right. Listen, you ought to see Jones out on the street. She plugs right into my lead. It's like she's been my partner for years.
Well, that's nice to hear.
Oh, I did. Actually, she's quite green in a lot of areas. I would never give her the lead. I don't have to tell you, Mary Beth, it takes cops years and years to...
Green?
Yeah.
Bag it.
Sure.
What do you think of this here?
It's missing something.
The bow.